This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the eyes of the political world are on California and the recall election of Governor Gavin Newsom. We're going to bring you a look at the political stakes in this pivotal race. Are booster shots for COVID really necessary? A new report says no. We're going to talk with CBN's medical reporter Lorie Johnson about that and the questions, the vaccines for children and possible religious exemptions from the president's mandate. Israel issues a warning. Time is running out to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. It comes as Iran is expanding its military operations with drone warfare. So how will Israel respond? And taking a different approach to winning the battle over abortion outside the courtroom. All those stories and more are ahead in today's edition of CBN Newswatch. I want to begin this half hour on the West Coast and the high-stakes recall election for Governor Gavin Newsom. State law allows for a recall if enough registered voters sign a petition supporting it. CBN's Tara Mergener has this look at the stakes in a race that has gotten the attention of the White House.
President Biden is well aware that this election has national consequences and is standing beside the governor to show his support. Other Democrats are circling the wagons in the homestretch.
Good morning, San Leandro.
California Governor Gavin Newsom in the fight of his political life.
This election is a matter of life and death.
President Biden among Democrats rushing to Newsom's side before the vote.
California, keep Gavin Newsom and send a message to America.
This appearance following last week's visit by Vice President Harris.
We are here to say today we fight for Gavin Newsom.
And a boost from former President Obama.
Your vote could be the difference.
Newsom won the office in 2018 with a whopping 62% of the vote. Now he's facing trouble, triggered largely by his response to the COVID pandemic, as well as other issues like skyrocketing crime and homelessness in the state. Among the 46 challengers, former Olympic gold medalist Caitlyn Jenner and businessman John Cox campaigning with a bear by his side, and popular conservative talk radio host Larry Elder, who's leading the pack by far.
The first things I'm going to do is repeal the requirement for state workers that they have to be tested once a week and they have to wear masks.
With Hollywood actress activist Rose McGowan making waves with her endorsement.
It gives me no great pleasure to call out Democrats. I was a Democrat.
A Republican win could potentially lead to Democrats losing their majority in the U.S. Senate. For example, if 88-year-old Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein were to retire, the governor would pick the replacement, and that could tip the balance in what is right now an evenly split Senate. Still, the latest polls appear to be on Newsom's side. According to 538, about 56% of California voters want to keep him in office.
The evidence right now shows that the recall is going to fail.
No matter the outcome, pundits say all eyes will still be on California come next year's midterms.
What happens in California is going to be part of that larger narrative.
If more than 50% of Californians vote to recall Newsom, the opponent with the most votes will be the Golden State's next governor. In Washington, I'm Tara Mergener, CBN News.
Regardless of who wins the election, California faces multiple problems. People are fleeing the state. Last year, for the first time ever, it lost a seat in Congress. Businesses are also leaving at a record pace, heading to states all across the country. Most people do not need a COVID booster shot. That's the recommendation from a review published in the Lancet Medical Journal by a group of leading international scientists, including two who are leaving the FDA partly over disagreements with the Biden administration's move for boosters. In the article, the scientists argue more evidence is needed to justify booster shots. Here with us to talk about this and other COVID issues is our medical reporter, Lorie Johnson. So, Lorie, what do we know about the need or no need for booster shots?
Well, Ephraim, it's actually a pretty controversial subject, and you mentioned the two people who have turned in their letters of resignation from the FDA, who have sided with 10 other international scientists in an article that's published in the medical journal called The Lancet, and their objection to booster shots sides with the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization has come out and said, look, nations, rich nations who are considering booster shots, please don't do that. Instead, give those vaccines to poor countries who haven't even had one shot yet. And so that is the push by the World Health Organization to give some of these struggling nations their first and second shots rather than these richer countries like the United States and England and France and Israel, some of these other developed countries who have already started offering booster shots. Now, it is important to point out, Ephraim, that here in the United States, there has been one recommendation already in place for booster shots for people who are immunocompromised. We know that there is plenty of evidence for that, for example, in hospitals where 90% of the patients are unvaccinated, when you look at that small percentage of people who are vaccinated and still hospitalized, a large percentage are people who have compromised immune systems. So we know that already in the United States, 1 million people have already gotten booster shots. And really, it's very easy. People can just go to the pharmacy or whatever and take their vaccine card if they've already had 2 shots or even the one J&J shot and just simply say, I'm immunocompromised. You don't have to show any proof of that. And so we do also know that President Biden came out and said that starting September 20th, people who got their shots very early on in January, such as frontline healthcare workers and people in nursing homes and the elderly, that they will be able to start receiving booster shots. And it looks like the FDA may actually go ahead and recommend that, but that has yet to be seen if that's going to happen. So it's a little dicey right now regarding the whole booster shot situation.
You mentioned President Biden, and we know that he is pushing for vaccines. What have you heard about the issue of religious exemptions when it comes to this recent mandate? How do they apply?
Well, it's important to note, Ephraim, that this vaccine mandate legislation has not even been written yet. So White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki doesn't have a lot of answers for reporters when they're asking about the details of this vaccine mandate. And so it's a legal question. But here's one thing that has not been answered yet is the question of philosophical opt-outs. We know that in all 50 states, there are vaccine mandates for children to attend school. And in 15 states, not only do they have the usual medical opt-out or religious opt-out, but a philosophical opt-out. And this is for people who simply philosophically, they just morally object to vaccines. And so it'll be interesting to see if that is in the legislation. And regarding the religious opt-out, we'll have to see what qualifies as a religious opt-out. But we can say right now, there is going to be an avalanche of lawsuits and legal action against this proposed vaccine mandate. We know that already 11 Republican governors are preparing that, saying that this vaccine mandate is unconstitutional. So it remains to be seen what happens with this.
Real quick, what's on Healthy Living this evening?
Well, tonight we're talking about sleep disorders in children. You don't often hear about that, but a lot of parents who have kids who have difficulty concentrating and are difficult to control are automatically diagnosed as ADHD and put on medication when really they might actually have a sleep disorder instead. And so it's a really interesting topic for parents.
All right, you can catch Healthy Living with Lorie Johnson tonight at 8:30 Eastern. You'll find that on the CBN News Channel and, of course, on the CBN News app. I want to turn now to the South. Hurricane Nicholas, now a tropical storm, making landfall along the Texas coast today, bringing up to 20 inches of rainfall to parts of the Gulf Coast. The storm could cause life-threatening flash floods across the Deep South. Nearly all of the Texas coastline was under a tropical storm warning. Coming up, a warning to the world from the Prime Minister of Israel. Time is running out to stop Iran from building a nuclear weapon. We'll hear what he says needs to be done when we come back.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Israel's prime minister is putting the world on notice. Time is running out to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. As Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, the warning follows an alarming UN agency report.
Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett is sounding an international wake-up call.
I'm calling on world powers. Don't fall into the trap of Iranian deception that will lead to additional concessions. They're dragging on. We must set a clear-cut deadline that says, until here. The Iranian nuclear program is at the most advanced point ever.
Israel remains clear. Its military option to strike Iran's nuclear facilities is open. Earlier this month, the UN agency monitoring Iran's nuclear program released a confidential report saying for months the regime hindered access by damaging surveillance cameras while also expanding its nuclear program dangerously close to a weapons-grade level. To avert a political showdown, Iran invited the agency back this weekend, but it could be too late. Meanwhile, Sunday, Israel's defense minister issued another warning with the release of images of an Iranian training base.
The Kashan base, located north of the city of Isfahan, is used to train terrorists from Yemen, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. Iran has developed proxy terror, which is perpetrated by organized terror armies, which are assisting Iran in achieving its economic, political, and military goals.
The camps include another weapon of terror, military drones.
One of the most significant tools employed by Iran and its proxies is UAVs, with a range of thousands of kilometers. Hundreds of these UAVs are spread across Yemen, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. Iran is also attempting to transfer the know-how needed for UAV production to Gaza.
Seth Frantzman, author of Drone Wars, says this is Iran's war of the future today.
What it tells us is Iran's not just exporting the drones and the blueprints. It's bringing people into Iran, training them, and then setting them back. And I think that's a big implication for the region because it means you have very skilled operators who can use drones to target ships or energy facilities or whatever they want.
And Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. So Iran is expanding its drone warfare capabilities. What kind of threat does that pose to Israel?
Well, Ephraim, one threat they have is shipping. Just a few weeks ago, Iran struck a ship off the coast of Oman that's hundreds of miles away from Israel. And the danger right now that Iran's proxies in Syria and Lebanon, they can use this technology. As Seth Fransman said, they're exporting this drone technology, so that can be exported as well to Gaza. And earlier this year, back in the war between Hamas and Israel, they actually used drones. They were fairly unsuccessful, but it's a sign they've begun to use this technology. They're likely improving on it. So potentially in the future, more dangerous and deadly weapons than these drones, actually more than missiles and rockets. They could be precise weapons against the IDF and Israeli civilians. So that's one added threat to Israel going forward.
Israel's warning about Iran aren't new. They've talked about the nuclear threat, but will there ever be military action, you think?
Well, Ephraim, that's the question people have been asking for years here, more than a decade. We don't know for sure. What we do know is that the IDF has been planning a military attack against Iran for years. We do know Israeli leaders have been warning about military action for years, and more lately they've been talking that more and more. We do know that their military budget is geared to stop Iran's nuclear program, but right now it's a political decision, not necessarily a military decision, and the political leaders have a lot of considerations. For example, will the U.S. stand with them? What are the ramifications if they don't act? What happens if they do act? And one thing to remember, Ephraim, is something called the Begin Doctrine. That was former Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin. He said that Israel will not allow their enemies to get weapons of mass destruction, including nuclear weapons. Back in 1981, they struck Iran's reactor. 2007, they hit Syria's reactor. So we don't know what's going to happen in 2021 or 2022. We'll have to watch and see. And many people will be watching and praying for the peace of Jerusalem.
Indeed. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett met with the president of Egypt on Monday. What happened in that meeting?
Well, it was a very important meeting, Ephraim. It was the first time in 10 years that an Israeli leader like Naftali Bennett was invited to Israel. Netanyahu actually met with Egyptian leaders, but it wasn't on Egyptian soil as they met in Sharm el-Sheikh. During Netanyahu's time, he focused on weakening Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. But now President el-Sisi from Egypt, he wants the opposite. He wants to strengthen Abbas because he sees, and he wants to weaken Hamas, part of the Muslim Brotherhood, because he sees them as a greater enemy. He was the first Arab leader to invite Bennett, and so he's positioning Egypt to regain the prominence it once had in the Middle East. And the possible results, Ephraim, would be seeing a warming and deepening of relations with Israel. He also sees the Abraham Accords happening. So I think Egypt wants to position itself as one of the leaders in the Arab world and more have normalization, just like these other nations like the United Arab Emirates are having with Israel.
All right, Chris Mitchell, thank you so much for your time. Still ahead, as the legal fight over abortion is taking place across the court system, some in the pro-life movement have come up with a different way to try to win the battle over abortion. We're going to explain what they're doing right after this.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body?
on your arteries so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago. The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
The Justice Department is going after Texas's new abortion law in court. The law is just one of many set to challenge Roe v. Wade in the United States Supreme Court. At the same time, some in the pro-life community have come up with a different approach to winning the abortion battle. Charlene Aaron explains.
After almost 50 years since the Supreme Court decision, people still spread wrong information about abortion and the life issue. This new tool, What to Say When, the complete new guide to discussing abortion, is designed to focus on converting hearts instead of winning arguments.
There's a lot of things that we naturally tend to say when abortion comes up that can either be insensitive to the other person or just plain wrong.
40 Days for Life President Steve Carney, co-author of the book, calls it an apologetics approach for pro-lifers.
We don't have an argument problem in the pro-life movement. We have a confidence problem. And a lot of people honestly don't know what to say when, and we've gotten thousands of requests for a book like this.
It includes how to respond to the popular My Body, My Choice slogan, adopted by abortion proponents.
There's a lot that our laws don't allow us to do with our own bodies. We have to wear seatbelts. We're actually not talking about the woman's body. The abortion takes place in the woman's body, but it's done to another body, which is then discarded.
Other topics include how to navigate the changing and often bizarre promotion of abortion, bringing the balance back more toward converting hearts instead of winning arguments, and knowing what to say or not say if and when the subject comes up.
Some of the new arguments being used by politicians or those in the media, or certainly the abortion industry, just get more bizarre and weird to the average person. And that was really the motivation for the book, to cover traditional arguments for abortion, but also to cover the new and strange and bizarre arguments that we hear.
In the end, Carney hopes to arm the pro-life community with the right information in order to defend those who can't speak for themselves.
I just think it's going to help people have confidence to go after hearts and minds, and there are ways to respect a person and not respect their points or their arguments, and we balance that in the book, and it's been proven to work.
What to Say When, the complete new guide to discussing abortion, is out this week, and it's available wherever books are sold. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Coming up, next week, a gathering for Thanksgiving prayer in Oregon to thank God for this year's harvest. We're going to bring you that story when we come back. Please stay with us.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Your news channel. Your shows. The stories you care about. Anytime you want. Anywhere you want. Download the CBN News app today.
Before our last story, some sad news to share. David Youngie Cho, pastor of the world's largest megachurch, has died. He was 85. He was the founder of the Yodo Full Gospel Church in Seoul, South Korea. He spent decades spreading the gospel in that country. At the time of his death, he had been receiving medical treatment for a brain hemorrhage he suffered in 2020. Cho was born in 1936 to a Buddhist family. He converted to Christianity at age 17 after doctors told him he would die from tuberculosis. He credited God with his miraculous recovery. You can read the full story of his recovery back then and his ministry at CBNNews.com. On September 21st, more than 1,000 farmers, loggers, ranchers, and others in the agricultural industry will gather in Albany, Oregon to pray and thank God for the harvest. Tim Amon with Farmers United shared about the historic event on our Prayer Link program.
You can see cars passing behind me on the freeway. We're going to be set up here right by the freeway, and we're going to gather there because it gives us a place where we can recognize who actually is the owner of this land and who controls it, who gives us the weather that we need, the rain, the blessings of it. There's so much uncertainty, fear, and frustration. And so we can react in two ways. And we really felt there's two things we can do. We can either continue to complain or we can pray. So that's why we're gathering here. We choose to pray.
And you can see more uplifting spiritual stories on the Prayer Link. It begins this evening at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can find that on the CBN News Channel and on the CBN News app. Before we go, I want to share with you today's Tuesday Tweetable. It's a message I pray will bless you, but I also encourage you to post, tag, tweet, and share it with those in your circles of influence. Remember this, being broken may be painful, but there is a blessing in brokenness. The trial is not meant to take you out. It's actually meant to strengthen you and draw you closer to God. Remember, He is near the brokenhearted. And if that's you, He's right there by your side, and you are not alone. With that word, I encourage you to make today a terrific Tuesday. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel or at any time or online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us. The address is right there at the bottom of your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We would love to hear from you. I encourage you to make this a terrific Tuesday and join us right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.